What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful evening. Beautiful evening. I see a few clouds forming, very, very transparent ones. I don't know what that's about, but it's a bit warm right now, and I do have some hot tea, Lipton. Delicious. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Lipton people, man, they got it down. They got it down. So, reading a book here, The Beasts of Tarzan. Good book. I'm a big fan of this character, Tarzan. And, it wasn't up until, 15 years ago that I realized that there's no extra A. Oh, I see him. Where'd it go? Like a little flying bug. So anyway, it wasn't until, 15 years or so ago that I realized that Tarzan did not have an A after the R. My whole life I was saying Tarzan. There was like an A in there, very fast, but it was in there. Tarzan, right? And now, when I looked at it, I go, wait, it's Tarzan. There's no A after the R in between the Z. And for a long time, I had a hard time getting used to that. It just seemed too abrupt, Tarzan. But Tarzan sounded just right because I got used to it all those years. So this is Tarzan's 100th anniversary collection, and very, very good book. Highly recommend it. If you see it, pick it up. Hardcover. Yeah, I like the character of Tarzan. The solitude. He had Jane in some of them. So the other guy, what was his name? Ron Ellie. You know what I'm talking about? In the 70s, there was this Tarzan that was very educated. He spoke perfect English. And my father did not like him. Why? Yeah, I'll tell you why. There was an episode where he drove a stick shift Jeep. And my father, not big on the stick shift, he saw it and he goes, I don't like that. He goes, that's ridiculous. Tarzan driving standard, And apparently that was part of his knowledge. But that Tarzan did not have a Jane or a boy. But Johnny Weissmuller had both. And he had a nice treehouse. Yeah, I used to watch, there was an episode, Tarzan goes to New York. And at some point he jumps off the Brooklyn Bridge. But when you're looking at it, man, that looks like a statue falling. Looks like a little, plaster Tarzan going down, very stiff. So yeah, everything about him was awesome, everything about him. But like I said, I liked the Tarzan that did not speak much, just talked with his hands. And they always had these extras on the show that looked like they belonged on that Disneyland thing, the Jungle Cruise. On the side you see individuals. Yeah. So I want to see a Tarzan movie made, the dark side of Tarzan. I want to see the training involved. I want to see how the apes, they trained him, they took care of him, brought him up, able to communicate with other apes. The gorillas are strong, but they seem friendly, or at least friendlier than the other ones. The other ones seem a bit untrustworthy. Chimpanzees, cannot trust that animal. They will tear body parts off of you. I remember years ago there was a woman who had one as a pet, and he tore her face off. Chimpanzee. And here I am all these years because I was tricked by BJ and the Bear. I used to watch that show, and I thought chimpanzees were friendly. I thought you could have it at the house. The only thing that was an issue, I go, you got to keep changing those diapers. Chimpanzee's not going to go to the bathroom and use a urinal or sit on the toilet. That's the only thing I didn't like. And then, how old was I? This is way back. This is like, I don't know, like 100 years ago. So I was probably in my 20s or something, and I was at this house, not visiting. My father was visiting there, and I went with him. But in the backyard next door to that house, the guy had a rhesus monkey. At least it looked like a rhesus. It might have been something else. And this monkey was sitting, had a chain around his neck like King Kong had. And I said, "Oh, monkey." I go, meet the monkey. So I get close, and man, he got angry. Showed me the teeth first. He had this crazy looking Charlie Manson smile, had the fangs in the front, and his big eyes opened up, and he gave me a couple of, like, I don't know if you know, there was a fighter, Bone Crusher Smith, and Bone Crusher Smith would open up his eyes like that to intimidate Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes beat him. So I went close, and the monkey kind of charged me, but he had the chain yanked him back. And then after about a minute, the owner came out, and he gave me a talk. He said, "Hey, you got to be careful, we don't want to get in trouble here. Monkey will attack." And he goes, "Be careful you don't go." And he had like a line on the ground. Apparently the chain would not reach that line. So he goes, "As long as you're behind that, you're fine." And I was thinking maybe the monkey one day, out of rage, will tear that chain out of whatever that chain's stuck on and start chasing me around, And you cannot beat a monkey. They look weak, they look small, but they will beat you up. They'll embarrass you. So, yeah, very edgy monkey. I have no idea how this guy got a license to have a monkey in his backyard. Imagine, like in my time when we were kids back then, playing ball or playing hide and seek and ending up in the backyard where the monkey is, but not really paying attention, and all of a sudden the monkey grabs you as a kid. I don't know. I mean, the yard that I'm talking about right here, it was not fenced in. So I don't know. It did not make a good pet. I don't think so. So yeah, I want to go to the Congo. Every time I mention it to somebody who has a college degree and may know a couple of things, they always say, "That's not a good idea. Not a good idea." Like the Amazon is another place I'd like to visit. A lot of mosquitoes there. Have to rub yourself down with garlic. But I'd like to go down there. I'd like to get on a boat. Amazon River. Amazon River has no bridges. So you need a boat to get across because the Amazon expands throughout the year and then shrinks. So you wouldn't know how big the bridge would have to be, because at some point it would be this wide, and then, it would rain or something, and then it would expand and the bridge would be underwater. So there's no bridges. A lot of people don't know that. But I'd like to go into the deep jungle and explore. They don't even call it the jungle anymore. Now it's a rainforest. They made it sound wimpy. Yeah, it's a rainforest. Jungle sounds better. Jungle. I'm going to the jungle. I'm going to the rainforest. Not the same thing. But yeah, I was always wanted to go visit places like that. Thick vegetation. I know you have to go and get your shots. I have my shots. I'm pretty updated, but I know there's probably exotic viruses that they would have to vaccinate you against. But I got a lot of different, every so often I add a new shot to the list, and you never know. Like pneumonia. Get that shot, the flu shot, And you know, sometimes the flu shot works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how good the match is. I had the flu shot one year, I got the flu. You know, it was all like, yeah, I got the flu shot, I don't have to worry about the flu. That year, I ended up getting the flu, and it was a good one. It was a good flu. Now, it's been many, many years since I've had the flu, long time. I know somebody, I'm not going to mention names, unnecessary. I don't think they know what the flu is. You know, I run into them in the winter time, and they'll say, "Oh, I was sick yesterday. I had the flu," and I go, "You look fine today." "Oh yeah, today I'm fine, but yesterday," and I'm like, "Well, that's not the flu. You don't have the flu. You have just, I don't know, lazy man syndrome." But they would tell me that throughout the year, I have the flu. They caught the flu like a couple of times or 3 times that winter. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And you recovered that fast? You know, if the flu gets you, you don't recover that fast. It's not a 24-hour thing. It takes a while. It takes a good 10, 12 days to recover from the flu. And then even then you don't feel 100%. You know, a lot of people, they get sick and they think it's the flu when it's just a minor cold, the rhinovirus. So, you think about people that have many sexual partners, right? And you think these people have got to be top-notch, you know, immune system responders. You know, their immune system, I don't even know if that makes sense, but their immune system must be so good because they've been exposed to pretty much everything that they have antibodies for everything out there. I would say that should be logically the case, right? So if you have somebody who, you know, has slept with, I don't know, 500 women, right? They should have every known virus in their system, every known bacteria, everything in there, and their body should have developed antibodies by now. So I don't know, I've never read about that, but you know, it makes sense. But I want to research that and find out. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe they've compromised their immune system where they get sick more often. But you would think the more people you know, more people you have contact with, right? So you're exposed to everything they have, and your body develops antibodies, you should have a good immune system. So I don't know. The ones that should be the sickest should be the ones that avoid people. You know, I know somebody, I met them 3 months ago. I have no idea what they look like. Every time I see them, they still have the mask on. Not one time have I seen them without the mask. And I made a comment about it the other day. I go, "You still thinking about the coronavirus there?" He goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Well, I work downtown." I go, "You work downtown? What do you think downtown is a better place to get the virus? You can get anywhere." But I've never seen, I don't know what he looks like. If he robbed me without the mask, I wouldn't know it was him. He could come back the next day with the mask on and I wouldn't know. You know, I want to tell him, take that off. Let's see what you really look like. Although I have an idea. I have an idea what he looks like. I mean, the eyes give it away, right? You look at somebody's eyes, like, you know, if you have a contest where you have celebrities and you just have the eyes, you pretty much know who they are. You know, the eyes are a dead giveaway. Maybe if he had the mask on and welding glasses, then I wouldn't be able to tell. But I don't know what he looks like. And then I still see people, they're walking their dogs in the morning outside and they have a mask on. Got the mask on. I think that mask is making them sick. Can you imagine all the crap on that in the inside? I bet you if you took a petri dish, it would overwhelm the petri dish. Just disgusting. I think it's a phobia now too. You know, they probably need a phobia name. Coronaphobia or virophobia. I know they have germ phobia, but they need something more specific to the coronavirus. Because there are people that I think for the rest of their lives they're going to wear masks. Yeah, I see a fly thing and I can't get it back there. Anyway, nice quiet night. Not hungry right yet, yet. I'm not hungry yet. I may be hungry later, but right now I'm not hungry. Haven't grilled in a long time. Barbecued, I haven't done that. Sometimes I'll wave this electric tennis racket around, and there'll be like some kind of fly in the way, and I'll zap it. It's getting a little more cloudy now. I don't know where they came from, but a little cloudier. You know who died recently? No? Tom Lear. You don't know who that is? Tom Lear was big in my childhood. He died he was almost 100. He was well into his 90s. But Tom Lear did a lot of work for PBS, the electric company, Sesame Street. He wrote songs. He's a very clever guy, Harvard graduate when Harvard was even better than it is right now. But he did a song, one of my favorite songs. It's called the LY song. You can look it up on the internet. Go on YouTube, put in the LY song. He wrote it, he sings it, and I love everything about that song. I love the way it makes me feel, that melody. I love the words, cartoon that goes along with it. I remember being a kid and sitting in my room. I had this chair that would spin, and I would sit in my room and with the lights off, and I was about 15 feet away from the television set. I had the TV on top of my bookcase, and I would turn it on, and sometimes on a Friday when it was kind of like fallish outside, or Amish, I would have the windows open. I would sit in that chair, or in that nice, I don't know what they call it, love chair, and all of a sudden the LY song would come on. And now when I hear the LY song, it brings me back to that kind of an environment. Dark room, TV up on the bookcase, black and white television set, window open, fall air coming in, and there I am sitting down and listening to the LY song. Yeah, love that tune. I don't know how many times I've heard that in my life, that song. Even in recent years when I'm, an older person now. I don't even think you have to put in Tom Lear, the name, Lear. You just put in the LY song. But very smart guy, played the piano, political humor, clever political humor, not the lightweight stuff we hear now. This was a guy that was deeper than the stuff now. Now it's like fifth graders with chalk. They write the jokes. Not that impressive. I don't know what I feel like eating tonight. I could go for a steak. I could go for Chinese food. I've said this before. I know I have. But I had a friend of mine, his name was Lee. Really nice kid, very generous. You're lucky to know this kind of person. Very, very generous person. And he had a big car, big Lincoln. It's 1970, 71 model. It was like a tank. Had a lot of room in there. So, tell the story here. So he would call me up on the phone there, like the usual way, and he would say, "What are you doing?" I'd say, "I don't know, I'm not doing anything right now." And he'd say, "You want to go get a bite?" And I'd say, all right. And I knew what that meant. We were going to go to this, it was like a Chinese restaurant. It was like maybe about 5-6 miles from my house. So he'd come by wintertime, and I'd get in there, get in the car, we'd go. And I wasn't really knowledgeable about, Chinese food back then. I don't know. I knew, I don't know, shrimp fried rice. I knew that. I knew chicken fried rice, right? And that was about it. So we go in there, and this menu is very elaborate. A lot of stuff. I'm looking at rows and rows and rows of stuff. I have no idea what they are. So I zero in on one thing that I know I can pronounce relatively, easy or easily. It's an adverb. And the waiter comes. He spoke very little English. He only knew, the words on the menu, and that was about it. And he said to, what do you, he nodded actually, he gave me one of those, and I said, give me the mumu gai pan. And he goes, and he jotted it down. He came back with the mumu gai pan, and I ate it, and I said, you know what, not bad. I think when we come here from now on, I'm going to get mumu gai pan. So, and that's all it was. We'd go there like once a week, sometimes more. And I always got mumu gai pan. One day I said, you know what, I see here it says steak. I want to get the steak. So, got the steak, it came over to me, and it did not look like a steak the kind I'm used to. When you go to a nice steakhouse, about 2 inches thick, charred on the outside, pink or red in the inside there. Did not look like that. This looked like the steak was abused, just charred all the way through, thin, was not nice and, juicy, and it looked like an old shoe print. So I said, yeah, I ate it, because I'm not fussy on that, I'll eat it, but I said, next time I'm gonna stick with the mumu gai pan. And since those days, we're talking in high school, I have not had mumu gai pan again. Matter of fact, I graduated high school, got my degree, right? And me and Lee were standing outside in front of my father's no, not in the front, in the back of the station wagon. We were just standing there, and my mother had what'd she have, an Instamatic Kodak camera. And she said, oh, I'll take your picture. And she snapped a picture of me and my good friend Lee. And that was the last time that I saw him. Never saw him again. I don't know, you get older, you kind of go your own way, and if it's not convenient, maybe now if you have like a text, whatever number or something like that, or maybe they have an account on a social media website, you'll stay connected somehow. And even that, I think, you drift apart. I've, seen people, they're on Facebook, they never communicate. They just have their picture there. So, once we graduated, we went our separate ways. And that's pretty much with everybody in high school. I don't have any, connection, any communication with anybody from those days. I kind of met different people, new people, and I know them, but people that I knew from way back, they moved on, they got married, they opened up new relationships with other people, and that's life. That's the way it goes. You're in first, second, third grade, kindergarten, you're hanging around with kids all the time. You think that they'd follow you through life, and they don't. Most of those people you never see again. I don't know anybody from kindergarten. Like, I call up and go, hey, remember those days? I don't know anybody. I know some of their faces, I remember them, I remember some of their names, but I couldn't tell you where they are right now. And they probably don't even remember me. My theory is, in order for people to remember you from way back, like those years, you have to do something dramatic. Something, I don't know, maybe if you're in kindergarten, you flip the piano or something, maybe if there's a piano in the room, which we had one. My kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Murray, she could play. But if I took that piano and kind of like flipped it on its side, if I could, I think they'd remember that now. They would say, remember that kid got angry, thought he was like the Hulk, tossed the piano, fell on its side, you know, Miss Murray was underneath it. That kind of stuff, I think it would stick in people's minds. But I didn't do anything like that. So I wasn't kind of like a quiet guy in the background. I was so quiet. I didn't want the attention that when we would play bingo and I would win in class, you know, they had that, and they pick a number, you know, B7 or something. If I had the thing where it would connect the line across, I wouldn't put the last one down because I didn't want the attention of having to yell out bingo and everybody looking at me and go, oh, he won an electric blanket. So I wouldn't say anything. So one day I'm at the table, there were 4 of us, and like it's a booth table that we had in my kindergarten class, and there was this kid Bill. There was a kid Bill there. He was sitting and he was drawing his little designs. I go, what are you doing? And he told me the word is designs. I'm making designs. So I still remember the word design because he taught me that. So we would sit, you know, once a week or a couple of times a week, we'd play bingo with the whole class. Teacher would call out the numbers, and sometimes I would win, but I wouldn't put the last thing down, and, you know, I wouldn't call it, somebody else would. Well, that particular day, Bill was watching my card, and they called, for example, like, you know, 07, and I had that, and that would make the bingo. So I look, I go, yeah, okay, I'm not putting it down. And I didn't cover it with my hand. I had it open, and Bill looked, and he goes, he got it, he won it, and I'm like, you don't need to do all that ridiculous hand waving, you know. Okay, I won, I know it, that's good enough. So then, you know, the spotlight was on me for about 4 seconds, and I did not like that. You know, I didn't like it at all, actually. So I told him, when I win, you don't need to announce anything, you know, concentrate on your own stuff. And I remember him, you know, if I would have bumped into some guy that had that similar look, I would ask him, is your name Bill? Delicious. I don't know, it's like very good. So right now it's just clouds in the sky. I don't know where they came from. When I first started the video, there were a few little clouds, you know, forming, and most of the sky was like a, you know, fading blue because we're in the evening hours now. But now I'm looking up and it's just clouds. So I don't know, I'm gonna end it here, and probably going to go in and do an investigation inside, find out what we're going to have for dinner. So that's it for now. Ciao.